Welcome to the Etsy Conversations podcast, featuring inspiring interviews with Etsy shop owners, hosted by Ijama Elazu.
Hi, and welcome to the Etsy Conversations podcast. I'm your host, Ijama, and I thank you for joining me for another episode. This week, my guest is Laura Aiken, and she runs the Etsy shop, Laura K. Aiken, where she sells fine art prints and home goods with a Southern accent, which I love. I want to talk about that because that puts all kinds of images in my head. Laura, thank you so much for being my guest and welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Ajama. How are you?
I am fine. I'm so happy to finally talk to you in person because I know we communicate on social media quite often. And so it's nice to talk to you voice to voice.
Yes, I know. It seems like we've had a long little relationship through the internet and just never been able to talk independently.
Yes. And I feel like we have spoken, but then when I was just doing your intro now, I realized, okay, wait, this is actually the first time we've spoken live. So this is good. Thank you for responding to the post where I invited people to be my guests. I was so happy that you said yes, because I've been following you on social media and your artwork is phenomenal. And so I'm glad to have you on the podcast. And before we jump into our conversation, can you just tell us about you and how you found Etsy and decided to start selling on Etsy?
Well, I started Etsy, I believe it was like 2009, 2008, somewhere around there, 2010. I went back through my records and tried to find out, tried to zero in on when I started. But so you can get an idea. I've been on there quite a while. And I started Etsy to have an outlet at the time I was in Mosaic art, and I wanted an outlet to sell my Mosaic, and I did fairly well there at the beginning and sold some things and and then of course it evolves over the years. Then I went into having two shops, and I sold supplies in one of the shops, and then the Mosaic in the other shop. And then from there, I ended up going into, let's see, what did I involve to? Over the years, I went to Mosaic jewelry. I did that, and then now I'm doing the tea towels and prints, and I have pretty much dedicated my artwork now to painting, whereas when I first started out, I was in Mosaic, and but always wanted to get back into painting, and it finally evolved into that, and so now I'm a happy camper and doing my painting.
Now, have the products that you sell changed with your changing interests and creative skills? So, like when you were selling the mosaics, was mosaic artwork what you were doing creatively at the time, and now have you moved on from that and are solely doing painting, and that's why you've now transitioned over into painting?
Yes, that's what it is.
Okay.
For me, the mosaic was so time consuming, and it's beautiful work.
Yeah.
But I had gotten into doing murals and floorings and so forth, and it was just getting a little overwhelming. And about the time that I was really getting there in the big bigger pieces was when the bottom hit. When we had
The recession?
yes,
Okay.
or recession, or when everything just went dry.
Right.
No,
Yeah.
and so I knew I needed to go ahead and make the transition to painting again, and
Okay.
which is what I wanted to do. And so anyway, I as usual, I just did a conglomeration or a collage of different things with my paintings,
Right.
and still do with. Go
Now,
ahead.
have you found that there's a big difference between painting and mosaic art when it comes to which one is more profitable or lucrative?
Yes, I think my painting is much more lucrative,
Oh, good.
and yeah, I mean, there's just too many things that I can do with my paintings, and I'm in pretty deep into illustrations right now, and really am trying to get out there with my illustrations and be noticed that way.
Okay. Then you also said you used to sell supplies. How did you get into the business of selling supplies? And then how did you wrap that up when you decided that you were no longer going to focus on that?
Well, not in a very professional way, probably. I just that was it. It was like one night, I'm just gonna hello, this is it. This, I need to get rid of this. I need
Yeah.
to, I have got to quit being so complicated about everything, and I don't need all this. Let's just zero down to one thing. And I think I probably lollygagged about it a while, and
Yeah.
tried to, but no big sales or no
Okay.
nothing. Just kind of, okay, well, this isn't working.
Yeah.
This is over.
And I like that you said that, because there's some wisdom in doing something and realizing in good time that it's not working and then moving on, because some of us, and when I say us, I mean myself included for sure, tend to hold on for longer than we should to things that just aren't working, because we're hoping that maybe we're wrong and maybe what we see as not working is not right, but we really should. And so when you broke off and just cut that off, you knew it was the right thing to do. Did you have any regrets after, or your hunch or your idea that it was the right thing to just shut that down was validated once you did?
Oh yes, it was validated. It's just, zip pop. Let's just get this going, and zero in on something else that I really want to do.
And then when you did decide to zero in on something else you wanted to do, was it really just more that it was something you wanted to do and just felt more passionate about? Or did you do market research to figure out if it was the right way to go, and if so, how to bring that new product line to market? Or did you just go for it because you just knew that's what you wanted to do?
I would say I just went for it.
Okay.
I mean, this is what I have now, and with artists, I don't know if I think a lot of artists are this way. you go in seasons. And if you see something particularly that you like from an artist, then go ahead and get it, because next week or next month it's going to be a different scenario usually. Now, some artists that I know can stick with one thing. I get bored. I won't. It's still, you can still, I think, tell it's my work, but it's something different. Yeah. Like I still make mosaic jewelry, but I don't do the big mosaic. But I still can quench that thirst for mosaic by doing my jewelry, and then in that I do have my illustrations or paintings. I'm about to go off on a tangent here. I'm about to go down the wrong street. I don't know.
No, that's okay. And actually, you're going in a direction that I want to, because one of the things that I do like, I follow you on Instagram, so I know that your feed is constantly changing. So I can tell that that as an artist, you go with just where you're feeling creatively led. But then also, one of the things I like about what you're doing is that Etsy isn't your only thing. As an artist, as a creative person, you are involved in, you do pop-up shops, you have a studio, you teach classes. And one of the things that I mentioned to you before we started recording that I want to talk about is how involved you are in the quote real world outside of just selling online, and the importance of that. Or was it a conscious decision of yours, I should ask, to be everywhere, so to speak, both in real life and online? And how do you see that has benefited you in running your studio and running a business by not just staying in the virtual world?
Well, it's funny because I think of myself as kind of an introvert, but then when I am with somebody else and I go out with them, they say, "Oh, how do you know so many people?" And you're so, well, but then when I'm in that big crowd, I'm going to find the furthest place and the most quiet place, and I get in the corner. But yet I can, you have to go to these things, and I enjoy going, but I'm very overwhelmed when I do go, and that really doesn't make a lot of sense. But I guess you have to get out there. I mean, if you want people to, you've got to build yourself, and you can't build yourself. Well, you can build yourself, because I've seen it done on some of these Etsy things. But I feel like you need to get out and meet people in the community, and being associated with the art programs in your community. Take classes. I love to take classes. So I get out there and I take classes. Well, in those classes, you meet people, and then you may meet somebody that has a shop, and you end up having your wares in that shop. Staying up with, like, I love being involved with our Metropolitan Arts Council in Greenville, and that's constantly changing and doing and showing, and that way you have new work. Well, gracious, if I didn't do that, I'd just probably have little illustrations everywhere. I'd never have anything of substance larger, and well, that keeps your ideas going too. There's another the Greenville GCCA here in Greenville. That's another place for us to share ideas, and they have classes and they have art studios and so forth. So anyway, yes, get out there, and that just broadens your mind.
Yeah.
And how other people do their thing, and I mean,
I like that you're saying that, because you're reiterating a point that was made in a previous episode, which at the time we're recording this hasn't aired yet, but at the time this airs, it would have aired a week or two ago, where Shannon was talking about getting involved in the community. And she made the exact same point that you're making, is by getting involved in your community, not for the sole purpose of getting exposure for yourself, but for just really, for the purpose of really becoming a part of your local community and meeting other people in the community. You make connections, and sometimes they don't result in anything that brings you money, but they result in creating, fostering, just and I don't know what the right word is, but being a part of your community helps expands your horizons, and you grow as a business person. And then maybe along the way or sometime down the road, something positive happens for your business. But first and foremost, just making those real in-person connections is a good starting point.
Just forming relationships, and you can't just put all your eggs in, say, local
like craft shows,
local community, and you can't put them all in internet worldwide community. It's, and I had a problem with that when I first started too. Everything was outside of my local area. All of my commissions, I didn't have anything locally. It was all done either overseas or, say, New York or Chicago. My Mosaic work was all over the place, but locally it wasn't. So you have to think about your local areas too, and if you don't get out, you can't afford advertisement, really, to advertise in a paper, or I mean, it's so expensive. Maybe some people can. I've just never been able to put that much into it. So anyway, so if you don't get out there and let people know what you have to offer, then
you're missing an opportunity.
You're missing an opportunity, yes.
A big one.
Luckily, I was raised in a retail shop. My aunts and my mom had a clothing store, and so that has been pretty beneficial to me, to have grown up in that and see how the retail end works. Because I don't know how people do it if you have no knowledge of how the retail end of it kind of comes together.
And that's important for you, because you run a studio that's it's a walk-in, and are people able to come in there and shop your products, or is it just your studio for creating?
Well, I had my studio for 10 years at 10 Central Avenue Studios in Greenville, and I have just moved everything back home because I have this large window that overlooks a golf course, and it was wasteful for me not to use it.
Oh, yeah.
But when I was at the studio, and I still am associated with the studio. That's where I teach my classes and offer other things. But yes, they could come in and walk, see my studio at any time.
Okay.
The Julia Peters, who owns the studio, has 2 classes a day, so there was a constant flow of people in the morning and then at night. But I think I wasted time when I was there because I think of myself as an introvert, but I'm really not, because I'm social, and I'd have to be in there seeing what everybody paints and talking to everybody. So I found out that I can accomplish a good bit at home, a good bit more at home.
Yeah.
But yes, to get back to the answer to your question, I did have people come in and out and looking at my work, and it was a plus. Okay, it's around holidays they would pick something up.
Yes. Now, how do you balance running your business, selling your art, and also teaching? Because you do art classes, you do a summer art camp, you have painting parties. Well, those are fun, so those we can set aside, and jewelry parties. But how do you balance the two?
Well, it's not hard. You just get a calendar out, write it on your calendar, and kind of hope for the best.
Do you do much advertisement for your art classes, or is it something that's already well known about in the community, and so people pretty much just wait till you offer them?
Well, my art classes, a lot of the art classes I'll advertise through our studio website, and that helps.
Okay.
Because that database is, people who love art, and they have kids who love art and that type thing. So that's where I can get a lot of excitement going. Okay. And this year for the art camp, I did Facebook promotion, but I didn't see any kind of
results from that?
Yeah. Okay. I didn't see any results from that. It's local.
Yeah.
It even as it zeroed in on local people, it's word of mouth. I think that's what it boils down to, is word of mouth.
Okay. So let's go back to Etsy now. So when you originally opened your shop, what was your original intention? Was it just to make some money from your creative outlet, or did you open it with the intention of becoming a full-time paid artist through selling online and I guess in person too?
I did it to sell.
Okay.
Of course, yeah, and to get my name out there.
Okay.
Not as a a full-time Etsy person. Mm-hmm. I did it as an extra income.
Yeah.
So that folks could buy.
Yes.
Because when I started, we didn't have those little shops like they have now, Spotify, or at least I don't think so.
Oh, you mean where you could create your own website?
Correct.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yes.
That would have been ideal, I think. But yeah, I mean, I've hung in there with Etsy. I like it. Even with them raising their prices and everything, I'm going to stay with them. I think it's a good outlet. I really do. I'm hoping that what they say that they're going to do by promoting Etsy more is, I hope that's what they're going to do, so that I just, there's so many people on there. It's hard to get noticed.
Yes.
And even I've done the SEO route,
How did that work?
Well, it helps, but you've got somebody else that's probably doing it every day.
Yeah.
And keeping that. If you don't do it every day, then the algorithm, whatever it's called,
the algorithm.
The more you do, the better you get. Yeah, the more you do, the better results.
Yes.
And I'm just all over the place. I'm not.
I think
I just can't concentrate on it every day.
Yeah, and I think your expression right there is what a lot of people are feeling, that I just can't keep up. I know I had that experience too, and my reaction to the price increase was similar to yours, in that my first response wasn't, okay, I'm done, but there's a sense of hopefulness, because I hope that they will put that money into advertising to bring more traffic to Etsy. And if that happens, and we do get more sales from that, then I don't mind paying a little bit more if it's going to give me a larger return for for them.
Show me a result.
Show me a result. Yes. Yeah. So I'm hanging in there because I want to see what they're going to do. I don't know why. I might be optimistic for the wrong reason, not for the wrong. I might be disappointed, but I'm optimistic right now.
Yes. Well, I am too. And I know that it is very expensive, and they've got to pull that money from somewhere.
Yeah.
Do you remember when they used to have these calls for, or maybe they still do, but I can't find it on there. They would have a call for people who were interested in doing an ad, say, in country living.
No.
And they would have, they'd say, okay, you can come in, and it might be $100 for your entry to get that ad in a magazine.
No, I don't. Was that through Etsy?
Yes, it was through Etsy, and it was, a long time ago. Well, that time I didn't have anything, any of the, because I was just starting out. I was teaching classes in my kitchen on my kitchen table at that time. But anyways, and I don't think they do that anymore.
I have not seen that.
But yeah, they would have these calls, and if you want to be a part of this ad, then, and they would limit how many people could go in on it. So
did you ever take advantage of that?
No, not at that time, because I was just starting out.
Okay.
Yeah, I was.
One of the things that I saw is that your artwork is featured in a whole bunch of places, but on HGTV. How did your artwork end up there? Because I know somebody is listening right now who would love to see their piece featured in, a home that's redone on HGTV. How did that come about?
Well, they did and there's a lot of people that have had this happen to them. They did an artist call, And remember that show, oh God, what was the name of that show?
What was it about?
Well, they would go around to different artists in, like they would come to South Carolina and they came to Greenville and they did 3 artists in Greenville, me and I can't remember who the other 2 were, but they had an artist call for that. And I just, I had just had, see, That's Clever. I think it was that, yeah, it was called That's Clever.
Okay.
And before that, they had another show with the same format. And anyway, so they came to my house. They came to my house and they shot a video, and and then it aired on TV of me doing my Mosaic work.
Oh, okay. Now, when they came to do the filming, did they talk to you, and were you able to talk about your artwork and your shop and your studio and Etsy at all, or was it all just them filming you in action?
No, they talked to me. I'm trying to remember. It's been a long time ago, but I've just had to, I've milked it.
Of course. As well you should.
Hello, HGTV, come get me again, I would love to be on your show again.
So you got to
they talked to me.
Okay.
Yeah. It was good. It was, like I said, it was a 30-minute show maybe. And I was featured twice on the show, on that episode.
Oh, wow.
And then the other 2 people were on there once.
Okay.
So I got extra
double
points
exposure.
Double exposure.
Now,
but it was so much fun.
After the show aired, did you see some type of response that translated into more sales or just more interest in your work?
Yeah, I did. Mm-hmm.
Okay, good.
That's good. I did. I got a couple of jobs out of it.
Okay. Okay. So yes, I know being featured on TV or, some type of media is like the holy grail for artists, and not just artists, but anyone who has a product to sell. You want the right program to be featured on. And so, I don't know when they do these casting calls. I never hear anything about that. I assume that if you go to the station's website, they will have information, because I always wonder how people who get on reality TV shows do it. But I figure they must go looking for these open casting calls. And so it should work the same way, trying to get exposure on shows like that. If you go to, say, hgtv.com and see if there's a way you can submit have your artwork featured in a home that they feature or something like that, that would be great.
Yes, Ojama, that is exactly how it's done. You go to their website, and you go after them. They don't know about you.
Mm-hmm.
They have no idea about you. So you go after them. Magazines. Look in the front of a magazine. Look who's the editor.
Mm-hmm.
Look who's the art editor. The book. I've been in 3 books, and a couple of magazines. Well, I guess I've been in more than a couple, but anyway, you just have to tell people, hey, here I am. I think that when I was doing Mosaic work, it was much more interesting and different. And that's how I was able to, I didn't have as much competition doing that as I do with painting, because so many people paint.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's much, much, much more competition out there, and wonderful painters, and such creative people. I think it's a little harder
Yeah.
to get exposure through something like that. But if anybody's listening, please, I would love to be exposed.
Now, when you do reach out to magazines or TV stations, do you send your work? Do you send actual samples? Is it worth it to do that? Or do you just send them to your website so they can check out your work?
Usually I will send them a couple of low-res images.
Okay.
And like some of them, I will say they have come to me. So some architects in Greenville came to me years ago, and I think the magazine was At Home. And anyway, and then I just sent them the pictures. But basically, I look for call for submissions.
Okay.
And I set up a Google alert for art call for submissions, or, anything like that. I have a Google alert that comes in.
And for anyone listening who doesn't know what a Google alert is, you can go into Google. If you have a Google account, if you have a Gmail email, then you have a Google account, and you can go into, there's a section where it says alerts, and put in certain keywords or phrases that you want to be notified about if there's anything published about that. So let's say you want to know when anyone says anything about Etsy, you can put in Etsy as a keyword. And then depending on how you set it up, I think once a week, you'll get an email with a digest of all the mentions of whatever it is you said you want to be alerted about. Or you can do it daily so that as soon as news breaks, you hear, you get the email and then you can respond. So Google Alerts can be very helpful if you're trying to stay on top of a particular topic.
Correct.
Okay. So
very well said.
Thanks. I use Google Alerts, so I like them. I like using it to, stay up to date with stuff, because it's so hard to say you're just going to read everything that comes your way. Whereas if you let Google do the work for you and just tell you when there's something worth reading, it's such a time saver.
I tell you, there's one thing that I have not been able to figure out, is how to get in touch with Oprah.
Laura,
I've tried the Google alert. I've tried everything.
Well, okay, so here's the other thing. Here's the flip side to getting alerts. Now, what people can do is what's called reputation management, where you control the news about you that's out there. And so if something comes out, or there's something you just don't want being broadcasted, you can actually hire these companies that do what they call reputation management to squash things and, push things out of, so that they're not discovered. Or if something was published and you need someone to go and clean up your image, they go and they remove all the bad stuff about you from the internet. It's not cheap, but I bet you somebody like Oprah could get that if she wanted it.
Oh my gosh, what is it?
Reputation management.
Never heard of that.
Yep.
Oh,
Yes, it's not
well,
something
and
us ordinary mortals can typically afford.
oh my gosh, and Al Pacino, I know that's out of the
No, go ahead.
just pulled out of the sky there. But I was at a seminar with Allison Stanfield, and one of the things was, who do you want to sell to? You write down who you want to sell to. And that was the first person I put down, Al Pacino, because
What?
I want to sell to him. Oh my gosh.
Now, why is that? Why him?
Because I just love him as an actor.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think, oh my gosh, maybe if he could have me do a man painting or something, or some kind of crazy, I don't know, I just would love to do something for him. Paint for him.
Yeah. Wow. Well,
that had nothing to do with anything.
No, that's fine. And I was just thinking to myself, is there any conceivable situation where he would listen to this podcast? And I cannot think of any.
Oh, I know it. I think we'd have more chance with Oprah listening, don't you?
I hope. I can only hope.
Or Gail. Maybe Gail will be listening.
Maybe Gail.
Oh, gosh.
So speaking about getting exposure, let's talk about what you do to drive traffic both to your Etsy shop or even if not necessarily to your Etsy shop, but what you do to generate sales for yourself. Now you also have a website, laurakaaiken.com. And if you want to hop over there and take a look at it right now, it's Laura, LaurakaAiken.com. And so, Laura, what do you do to generate sales? Do you rely a lot on social media? I know you're on Instagram, but what else do you do as far as promoting the work you're doing and getting eyeballs on your products?
Well, I'm real good about getting eyeballs on there, I think, but I am not good at the part that the call to action part, where you here it is, and if you want it, so much for it. That part, I have been told that, if they go to my website, they don't know what to do. That, you don't have where you can buy it, or, I mean, you have where I can buy it, but I don't have it to where I'm sparking your interest to buy it. You're looking at pretty pictures. You see what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
You're looking, and I really need help with that part. Let's see. Now take me back to, let's see. Where were we?
So you know how to get traffic to your products.
Yeah, I feel
but
like
you just
I'm
don't know how
pretty
to
good
get people to buy.
Okay. Correct. Yeah. Of course, I go to Facebook. If I'm on Instagram, I promote to Facebook also. Sometimes I do the Twitter, but I only focus basically on Instagram because that's all I can take.
Yes.
I am so addicted to to social media, the Instagram, till it's just not funny, till I'm just about ready to throw my hands up and quit everything because I'm like everybody else. I waste so much time on there.
Yes.
But anyway, it's a great outlet. And I do Facebook. I also I also always include my Etsy. I 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 include my Etsy. link and my website link. I try to. Yeah. I'm also in the art cellar in Greenville, which shows my work, and just about, I would say, probably 50% or more of the people there are in Etsy too.
Okay.
I also have it on my business card.
Okay.
Those two things, follow me on Etsy and follow me on Instagram and go to shop me at Etsy.
Laura, can I ask you a question? So,
yes, ma'am.
What do you do primarily when you're on Instagram? Do you add pictures to your feed more, or do you do Instagram stories more? And I have a direction I'm going in, but I want to ease into that direction.
Jama, I don't do any of those stories. I'm a failure at the stories.
No, I saw the one you did, and you had me cracking up. I wish they lasted more than 24 hours so other people could see it, because I could not stop watching that.
Oh my god!
I think I watched it like 5 times before I finally said something to you about it, because I was so entertained.
Yeah, and then somebody said, "Why did you put that on there? That was the worst thing I've ever seen."
No, but let me tell you why I think it was great, was because it was natural, and it was you, and it wasn't overdone, it wasn't over polished, it wasn't overproduced. And that's where I think social media is going, or needs to go. So, and this is why I was asking you what you're doing, because I think because you're so active on Instagram, and hopefully this will help somebody else who is listening and is kind of stuck in the same way. Because you are active on Instagram and that's where you've chosen to focus, that's great. I think it's good to pick one, maybe 2 social media platforms that you want to get good at and focus on, but definitely start with just one. Now, why I think Instagram will work for you is because of the stories feature, but more importantly, coming down the road is IGTV. IGTV is going to be competing with YouTube. IGTV is Instagram's version of YouTube. And as an artist, because you make what you sell, and people like to see in progress videos, and people like to watch how things are made and watch what you're doing on the back end, I think what might work really well for you is if you do time-lapse videos of painting. Nobody's going to really spend 2 hours or however long it might take you to create a painting. But if you make a time-lapse video where they get to see the whole process, but it's time-lapsed and, it's condensed into 15 seconds or 35 seconds or 40 seconds, under a minute, that will generate, and Instagram is going to be featuring videos a lot more than what we post in our feeds, the static pictures. Instagram is going to highlight videos a lot more. And then with IGTV, especially when it launches, the people who get in there first with their videos are the people who are going to experience the most benefit from it. And if you have a craft that is video worthy, for lack of another term, I don't know what else to use, but video worthy, something that you make that you can film yourself making and then post that, I think that's perfect for IGTV and Instagram stories, and is what you should be doing. I can't do that because I sell supplies. Nobody cares about, the backside of how supplies get into the Etsy shop. They just want to buy the supplies. But for actual products that have a creative process, I think if you haven't yet started videos and you haven't yet you're on the fence about doing video and you don't necessarily want to show your face, you don't have to. If you make it with your hands, just film your hands making what you're making and share those. IGTV is getting ready to launch, so now would be a great time for anyone to do that. And I think, Laura, that would really work for you. You don't have to style it. You don't have to do anything, because they're not going to be, I don't think the highly produced videos are the ones that are going to really have the best impact. I think it's the more natural, just here it is, this is it, this is me, boom.
Right. Well, that's a great idea, and I think now you've talked me into it. Maybe I'll do that, or I will do that. Now that I have my studio at home and I'm set up a little bit better, and I know I won't have interruptions except from Gracie, my cat. All she does is sleep. So, but
the cat's life.
I know, God, gotta love it. But anyway, yeah, I think it'll be much more accommodating for me to do that now.
Yeah.
People can really see the mess that drives me nuts when I see stuff on TV when they show their studios and people and how clean and there is no way that my studio is going to look like that. And I keep telling my husband, because he wants me to clean it up. I said, it's just, there's just no way that you can make, it. Why would you want a clean, clean studio?
Yeah.
It's just, everything else in my house is clean because he likes it that way.
Yes.
But my room, I just want to swim in all the chaos,
Yes, and it helps your creative process too.
But I did kind of move some things around on my table when I set up the interview with you, so I would at least have a little bit of less chaos around me.
Well, you can move them back when we're done.
Yeah.
Now, is there anything right now you would say that is working really well for you when it comes to running your business, either on or off Etsy?
Let me see. Well, you mean a product, or
it could be a product or a process, or just
I enjoy doing little shows, indoor shows, and I have pretty good luck with that. I enjoy meeting people out like that, and I love meeting the other artists, and so that works pretty good for me.
Okay.
And I have started selling some little. I'm always looking for something new to sell my images, a way to sell my images on something else besides just a print, because not everybody has wall space. So right now, that's what I'm doing, the tea towel thing.
Yeah. And
people seem to enjoy that. And I put a lot of local images on that, and so that the buyer can identify with it.
Yeah.
It seems to be all about jarring memories and making that connection, that story behind. And one of the pieces I have are the Greer peaches. You probably, I don't know if you've seen that.
I have.
That identifies with this area so much because of the different peach sheds that are around in the area. And there was a Greer peach shed, a Taylor's peach shed that had the Greer peaches. So there's a big story behind that and the people that worked there.
Oh, yeah, I'm looking at it now. And, one of the things I'm learning is it helps to capitalize on your local market because it's so much easier to, one, come up with products that people around you can relate to. And I've interviewed other sellers who started off just really focusing on their local markets, and then as other buyers were shopping, they would see local products they were selling and then start to ask for custom orders for their own locality, and that's how they grew. And so starting off locally is a good, is a good idea, because then people, are more apt to say, well, I'm in this part of the country and this is something that's unique to us. Do you think you could make something like this, but for, and then, you expand that way.
Right. That's true.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, selling on Etsy, is there a feature that you particularly enjoy about selling on Etsy? And then on the flip side, is there a feature you would like to see offered on the platform at some point in the future?
Well, the process that I like is having that one-on-one experience with the buyer, just like when you're at a little show. I love wrapping it up and putting the bow on it and making a special gift out of it. Even if it's not a gift, just that, just making it all pretty and everything. I spend so much time on that, but it's so much fun. And the part which drives me crazy on Etsy, which I wish they would change, is it drives me crazy having to do all that extra stuff. I just want to put my picture out there and say, okay, it's this much. It's $15 for this print or $35 for this print. Here you go.
So the SEO and the tags and all that.
Yes, it is. So I think that's another reason I've gotten out of using it so much, because it's just so time consuming.
Yes.
Of course,
if you want to do it right, you have to spend the time. Yeah.
If you want to do it right, yeah. And I do copy paste a lot, but still, to me it's just wow. It's really time consuming, and it seems like the older Etsy gets, the more they add.
Yeah.
But I guess I could just throw it out there and expect the best. But
yes, and with the changing algorithm and them creating search to be more buyer friendly, who knows, that might change. It might all just come down to just what you say in your description. I don't know, that I'm just guessing.
Because when I go in to look at Etsy, I'm just looking at the product. I don't need really, if I want to know more about the product, I will IM them or, message them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to see all that. I just want to focus on the picture. Maybe because if I look at something, I see everything. Does that make sense? It's like going to clean up. If I don't break things down. I see it all as one big picture.
Right.
So to me, that's distracting. Having all that stuff to read and I don't know.
I get that. Now, are there any resources that you're using now that you find particularly helpful? And they could be tools that you use in your studio, or books that you've read that have helped you just be a better business person or online resources or websites? Anything that you find or have found particularly helpful that you think others might find helpful as well?
Well, I did read the Etsy book.
The Seller Handbook?
Yeah, the Seller
Okay.
Handbook, and I enjoyed that. And then gosh, why didn't I write this down? What is the other thing that's popular? It's got the big orange as his logo.
What's it used for? Is it for
For Instagram? Starts with a T.
for Instagram? Tailwind?
Not Instagram, Etsy.
Or Etsy?
The
Etsy rank? Marmalade?
Yeah, marmalade.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. For your keyword research.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Now I really like that
Okay.
a whole lot.
Okay. Do you use that each time you create a listing?
No.
Okay.
Well, yeah, I guess I do because it's been a while since I've done the listing. And something else that I have started using is Plan, PLANN.
What's that?
It's oh gosh, I'm sorry, that's Instagram.
Oh, is it for scheduling posts on Instagram?
Yeah, But you
Okay.
could still use it for Instagram. Well, I mean, you could tag it with your Instagram little tag thing that takes it right to the shop.
It takes people right to the Etsy shop.
Yeah, you could tag. Yeah, what I'm saying is you could tag it. With
Okay.
that.
Okay, I've just pulled it up online. I will link to that so folks can check it out. It says it's a visual planner, scheduler, and analytics app for Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Oh, that's a good one. I haven't heard of that. Okay, now just one more thing, Laura. What advice would you give to a seller who right now is struggling? They're on Etsy, and you being someone who hasn't limited yourself to just the Etsy platform, what would you tell that person about just branching out and the best way to start to consider branching outside of Etsy, not necessarily leaving Etsy, but just expanding?
Well, I wouldn't, like we talked before, I really wouldn't leave Etsy. I think it's a good company, and well, now I've been on there so long, I wouldn't know. Oh, I wouldn't dream of leaving them. I may not get in there and work it like I should, which the way I think that you should work it is get in there every day. If you're gonna solely work on Etsy, which I pretty much can't because I live in the city, and there's just too much to offer me. I mean, I have to be out too. But for some people who are limited to their studios, yeah, get on your Etsy. Make sure your SEO stays up to date. Use it every day, just like a regular store. If you say you were shopping at Dick Blick, well, Dick Blick doesn't just open their doors anytime that they want to. They have their stores have set hours, say 10 to 6. Well, be in your store at 10 to 6. Get up and do it just like it's a regular brick and mortar store.
Yeah.
Get on there, promote it on Instagram, promote it on Facebook, promote it on whatever you want to promote it on. Drive the traffic there every single day in order to keep that it's just like with painting. You don't get good at painting by painting once a year, or once a month. You get good at what you do by doing it every day.
Yeah.
So I just can't emphasize that enough. And if I know that I would have many more sales if I did that, but that's kind of the reason why I'm not doing as I preach, is because I have so many more outlets that I do here in Greenville.
Okay.
So anyway, that if you can, understand all that gobbledygook that I just said.
Yes. No, and it makes a lot of sense. If you're going to do it, you have to give it the attention it needs. And, running an Etsy shop, really, if you want to make it your full-time thing, you need to show up full-time in your shop.
Correct.
Doing the work. And it's not easy. I think that's a huge misconception, is that we think it's easy because it's easy to get started, but to gain momentum and to keep it going takes work. And like Laura said, you have to show up every day and do that work to see the results. And if you don't, you won't see them, which is what, is easier to experience.
I have a good friend who, she works full time, but she has a successful Etsy shop. Suzanne Noel, I think that's jewelry. She has jewelry. Anyway, she works it when she comes home.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she's constantly showing up for the party. She is all, works all the time on her. I think what her main goal is to when she retires, that she can, pretty much do her jewelry full time.
Yes.
Well, she's worked on her Etsy shop and eBay too, I believe, all these years. So she's going to have a good clientele when she does retire, which won't be too many more years from now.
Yeah, and that's the other way to go. I recently heard someone else say something similar, in that they're working, but they're growing their Etsy shop and business on the side, because it's not their full-time gig now, but once they retire, they don't want to retire to nothing, and that's what they're grooming the Etsy shop and business for, is retirement and retirement income. And that's another good plan, is you don't have to drop everything now to do it all, especially if that's not a practical choice for you. Laura, do you know the name of Suzanne Noel's shop?
I believe that's it. Let's see.
Oh, it's Suzanne Noel? Okay, because I would like to link to it. And
let's see.
So I will link to her shop so folks can go and check.
You did see it?
No.
Oh, okay.
But if that's the name, I'll look it up.
I think it's just I can send it to you. I turned all my machines off when we got
no problem. So
together.
I will link to her shop too, so folks can go and check out what she's doing as well. And I'll get that link in. Laura, what's the best way people can reach you if they want to get in touch, or if they have more questions for you?
They can reach me on Instagram at Laura K. Aiken.
Okay.
Or they can reach me by email, Laura at laurakaiken.com.
Okay.
Or Facebook at Laura K. Aiken .art.
That's your Facebook page?
Yes.
Okay.
But I don't ever see a lot of those notifications in that, so I would prefer email or Or even
or
my
Instagram.
Etsy site. I mean, of course, my Etsy
Oh, yes.
combo.
Yes.
That goes without saying.
Yes. And I will have links to all of the links that you can connect with Laura at: Instagram, her Etsy shop, email, Facebook, and also her websites as well. And you actually have to, there's laurakaaiken.com, which is like a portfolio of your artwork. And then there's laurakaikenstudio.com, which people can actually buy. That's your e-commerce store. And so people can buy from there as well. So I will link to those as well, so folks can check them out and see what you're doing, and hopefully follow along with your journey, and check out your classes too. Now, your classes are all local. So if you're in the Greenville, South Carolina area, you can check those out in person. I will link to them so anyone can check them out online and see just all what you have going on.
Yeah, I'm trying my best to like I said, get the illustrations going, and I want to see my work on in magazines.
Yes. O Magazine, right? Oprah's magazine.
Yes. Yes. Oprah. Illustrations by Laura Kennedy.
That's
Aiken.
right. Yeah. Just keep talking about it till one day we'll say, remember when?
Yeah. Remember when? Yes. I should have got her autograph, dang it.
Laura, thank you so much for coming on and having this conversation with me. I'm so glad that you took the time out to do this.
I'm back at you. I enjoyed every second of it.
Thank you. And I thank you for listening to the podcast. I will be back next time. I'd just like to make a special announcement. I'm going to be changing the format of the podcast, not the podcast itself, but the frequency of the podcast. As you may or may not know, the podcast is completely self-funded. I don't really take on sponsors for the podcast. And so in order to keep coming out with new episodes, which I plan to do, I don't plan to to stop doing the podcast, but I will be going, at least for a time, from weekly episodes to every other week. So you won't be hearing a brand new podcast every week, but you'll be getting a new one every 2 weeks. And I'm doing that because that's just going to help me with just staying afloat with the podcast. So I appreciate you listening, and I hope you will stick around to listen to the episodes every other week. And when I'm able to go back to every week, I will. But for now, to continue doing the podcasts and creating new episodes, I will be going to be releasing a new episode every other week. If you would like to partner with me in the podcast, you can. You don't have to, but you can. If you go to convome.com, there is a support the podcast tab. And if you would like to support the podcast, that's one way too. But by listening to the podcast, that is also supporting me, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you for listening. You can subscribe to the podcast in iTunes, and while you're there, please leave a review too. Visit convome.com to leave a comment or feedback on this episode.